Let's begin. You are born in the year of our Lord 1226, in the Kingdom of France. Not that he is your lord. Your father is a lender of money in the city of Troyes, a profession chosen for him with the same care you might choose a specific shovel for a specific type of filth. Your mother is a manager of anxieties, a keeper of a kosher home, and a silent accountant of the scorn her family collects daily. You enter the world not as a blank slate, but as a fresh page in a very old, very heavy ledger of inherited debt. Your fate is a hereditary condition for which there is no cure. You are a Jew. More specifically, you are servi camere regis, a serf of the king's chamber. This is a rather poetic term for protected resource. You belong to the king, not like a knight belongs to him, but like his forests belong to him, or the deer within them. You are a thing to be cultivated, harvested, and occasionally culled for the good of the realm. Your earliest memory is not of a mother's lullaby or a father's smile. It is of standing beside your father in the muddy street as a knight, resplendent in his muddy armor, rides past. Your father, a man who holds this knight's entire estate in notes of debt, bows his head so low his beard touches his chest. The knight, who could not feed his family for a week without your father's coin, spits on the ground near your feet. In that moment, you learn the ironclad truth of this world. Power has absolutely nothing to do with who holds the gold. It has everything to do with who holds the sword. Your childhood, such as it is, concludes at the age of 7. There is no ceremony, just the closing of a door. Your transformation chamber is not a castle training yard, but a small, airless room at the back of your home. The air is thick with the smell of old parchment and beeswax. This is your father's workshop, your crucible, your tomb. The tools of your trade are not the sword and lance. They are the quill, the abacus, and a mind sharpened to a razor's edge. Your education is a masterpiece of brutal, specialized engineering. You learn Hebrew to speak to your God, Aramaic to argue with long-dead scholars in the Talmud, and the local French dialect to negotiate with your debtors. You are forced to learn a grunting, bastardized Latin to read the fine print on contracts designed to entrap you. You spend 10 hours a day tracing numbers, calculating interest, and learning the 100 subtle ways a man's word can turn to poison. One afternoon, at the age of 9, you miscalculate the interest on a loan for a few bushels of wheat. The error is trivial, a few deniers. Your father discovers it. He does not strike you. He does not shout. He simply looks at you with a terrifying stillness and does not speak to you for a week. The silence is a far more effective lesson than any beating. It teaches you that a mistake is not a childish error. It is a crack in the hull of your family's very survival. This is how they rewire you. Your sense of empathy is a liability your family cannot afford. You are taught to see your neighbors not as people, but as columns in a ledger. They are risks to be managed, assets to be leveraged, or liabilities to be contained. Childhood innocence is cauterized away with the hot iron of practicality. You are being forged into a tool, and a tool does not have the luxury of feelings. You are becoming the thing they need you to be, and the thing they will hate you for being. Let's pause to admire the myth, the gilded lie they tell about you. You are the master of coin, the shadowy financier, the spider sitting at the center of a vast web of influence. You pull the strings and make the Christian lords dance to your tune. A truly wonderful story. Now, let's wade into the biological hell that is your actual life. Your home is in the Jewry, the Jewish quarter, a neighborhood whose borders are drawn by law and cemented by fear. In the summer, the air is a thick, tangible thing, a stew of human waste, boiled cabbage, and unwashed bodies. You cannot just live anywhere. You must live here, crammed in with everyone else marked by the same inconvenient faith. Your hygiene, dictated by the strange obsession of ritual washing, makes you a curiosity to your neighbors who associate the stench of piety with the odor of sanctity. Your diet is a constant, quiet proclamation of your otherness. No pork, no shellfish, no meat bled improperly. This isn't a culinary choice. It's a theological wall, and it makes you smell different, look different, feel different. Disease is not a risk. It's a roommate. The shared well is a gamble with dysentery. A simple cut from a stray nail is a potential death sentence from infection. You live in a state of perpetual, low-grade physical siege, a reality far removed from any web of gold. You are not a spider in a web. You are a rat in a beautifully constructed, divinely sanctioned trap. And yet, you become good at it. You have to. Which brings us to your masterpiece. Your legendary moment. The year is 1248. The place, still Troyes. The challenge is presented by the Count of Champagne himself, a man whose ambition is matched only by the emptiness of his treasury. He has been called by his pious king, Louis IX, to join the Seventh Crusade, a glorious adventure to the east. The problem is that glory is expensive, and God, it seems, does not offer lines of credit. The stakes are astronomical. If you fail to produce the funds, your community will be punished for the Count's humiliation. If you succeed, you become the man who funded a holy war against the enemies of Christ, a delicious irony you can only enjoy in private. Your execution is brilliant. You do not simply lend the Count money from your own coffers. That would be amateurish and suicidal. Instead, you become a symphony conductor of debt. You travel to Reims, to Sens, to Paris, meeting with other lenders in quiet rooms. You speak of risk and reward, of royal favor, and the danger of refusal. You meticulously assemble a consortium, a network of Jewish families, pooling their resources. You structure the loans not against the Count's flimsy promises, but against the future, tangible profits from the champagne fairs, against the taxes on wine harvests for the next decade. You create a financial instrument of breathtaking complexity and resilience. The climax is not a battle, but a signing. In a cold stone chamber, you stand before the Count as he dips his quill. For a few precious minutes, he doesn't see a Jew. He sees a solution. He sees his passage to the Holy Land. In that moment, your reputation is forged. You are no longer just a lender. You are Isaac of Troyes, the architect of the Count's crusade. A legend in the making, but a legend cannot leave his cage. The Count hosts a magnificent feast to celebrate his impending journey to glory. You, the man who paid for every cask of wine and side of beef, are not on the guest list. Your daily routine is the antithesis of this glamour. You wake. You pray. You open the heavy ledger. A peasant farmer arrives, begging for a loan to buy seed after a poor harvest, offering his only goat as collateral you both know he will lose. An hour later, a night squire arrives, not with a payment, but with a thinly veiled threat about his master's impatience. The day is a monotonous grind of managing the desperation and resentment of a world that both needs you and reviles you. The societal contempt is a constant, abrasive presence. One afternoon, as you walk home, a Franciscan friar, his face flushed with holy fervor, spits on the ground before you. Usurer, he hisses. A small crowd nearby snickers. You say nothing. You simply adjust the ridiculous, mandatory yellow circle of felt on your cloak, the ruelle, a target sewn onto your clothing by royal decree. The law itself is a monument to your status. You cannot own land, for land is the bedrock of Christian society. You cannot join a guild, for commerce is a brotherhood, and you are not their brother. You are a necessary evil, a function, a financial tool as cold and impersonal as the coins you count. There is no vicious cycle of training an apprentice for you. You have no children. Your wife, Sarah, was taken by a fever 5 years prior. Your legacy is written in ink, not in bloodline. But you see the cycle everywhere. You see it in the bright, terrified eyes of your cousin's son, a boy of 8, now being led into the same back room where your own childhood was methodically dismantled. You see his shoulders slump under the weight of the same future, and you can do nothing but offer him a sad, knowing smile. The machine requires new parts. And then comes the unraveling. It always comes. It begins, as it so often does, with something utterly mundane. The summer of 1251 is hot and dry. The harvest fails. The peasants are hungry, and hungry people need a story to explain their suffering. You are that story. The situation is routine, discontent, poverty, and a simmering pot of resentment. You have navigated this 100 times. The fatal error is not committed by you. It happens in a bakery on the other side of town. A baker's young son, a boy of 6, wanders off to chase a stray dog and disappears. He is probably sleeping in a hayloft or has fallen into the river. But a new narrative takes root, watered by fear and fertilized by hate. The local priest, a man whose gambling debts you hold, delivers a sermon on the eve of Easter that is a masterpiece of insinuation. He speaks of the enemies of Christ, of secret rituals, of the blood of innocent children. He never says your name. He doesn't have to. Your success, the very fact that you financed the Count's crusade, is now twisted into something sinister. It is proof of your unnatural power, your demonic pacts. The point of no return is not a sound. It is a sight. It is the orange glow on the horizon, growing brighter. It is the distant roar that resolves into individual voices, a chorus of righteous fury. The mob, led by the very knights whose debts were erased by the crusade you funded, is coming for the Juvery. You are hidden in the cellar of a sympathetic dyer, peering through a crack in the floorboards. You watch them smash your door. You watch them throw your furniture into the street. And then you watch them burn your ledgers. They cheer as decades of their debts, their obligations, their shame, all go up in smoke. In that instant, you realize your life's work has been rendered into ash. You are irreversible, utterly ruined. The haunting begins that night. You do not see the faces of the mob in your nightmares. You see the face of the priest, calm and beatific. You see the face of the Count, serene and distant. You see the faces of your supposed protectors, and you understand the true nature of the cage. The bars are not made of iron, but of their indifference. Paranoia becomes your only logical response to the world. Every friendly greeting is a lie. Every whispered conversation is a plot. You flinch at shadows. You tremble at the sound of church bells. Your anesthetic of choice is not the tavern. Alcohol is too common, too loud. You retreat into the silent, intricate world of the Kabbalah. You surround yourself with esoteric texts, searching for a divine order in the universe because human order has proven to be a cruel joke. You spend your days lost in the numerological significance of Scripture, trying to decode the name of God, hoping to find a secret logic that will explain your suffering. This isn't a quest for enlightenment. It's a desperate attempt to build a new prison for your mind, one with walls so thick the screams of the world cannot penetrate them. It isolates you even from the other survivors, who see your new obsession as a form of madness. Perhaps they are right. Your end is not dramatic. There is no stake, no glorious martyrdom. It comes in the form of a royal decree. In 1254, King Louis, now sainted for his piety, decides that the presence of usurers offends God. He signs the Great Expulsion. You, and every other Jew in his kingdom, are given 1 month to leave. Your assets are forfeited to the crown. The final setting of your life is not a grand stage, but the side of a muddy road in the foothills of the Pyrenees, somewhere on the border with Aragon. You are surrounded by a pathetic caravan of the dispossessed, a river of human misery flowing towards a new, uncertain home. Your final days are a blur of damp cold and aching bones. The cause of your death is breathtakingly trivial. It is not the sword of a crusader or the torch of a mob. It is an infection in your lungs, born from sleeping on the wet ground, an illness of the poor and the forgotten. Your death is a quiet, rasping affair. Your final moments are spent not contemplating God or the injustice of your fate, but simply trying to draw one more shuddering breath. Your last thought is of the scent of beeswax and old paper in your father's study, a lifetime ago. Directly after your death, you are forgotten. Your body is wrapped in your own worn cloak and buried in an unmarked ditch by a fellow refugee who cannot even remember your name. Isaac of Troyes, the man who financed a holy war, is gone without a trace. His deeds, his suffering, his entire existence erased. Now we leap forward, 400 years. An English playwright, a man who has never met a Jew because they were expelled from his country centuries ago, needs a villain. He needs a greedy, monstrous caricature to serve as a dramatic foil. And so, from the ink of his imagination, he creates Shylock. This creature, this grotesque parody of the function you were forced into, becomes an immortal archetype. Your reality, a life of caged pragmatism and coerced finance, is transformed into a fictional story about inherent greed and mercilessness. The role they brutally assign to you becomes the timeless proof of your wicked nature. And that is the final, perfect, cosmic joke. They designed a system that required a specific, unpleasant function. They forced you into that function. Then, they wrote stories for all of time about how it was your choice, your nature, your fault. Your entire life was a reaction to the shape of your cage. But the only thing history remembers are the bars.